Happy New Year and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. The first day of 2025 is the 1st of January. We are one day away from the latest instalment of the Old Firm Derby at Ibrox tomorrow. I've got to say, guys, I am genuinely, for the first time in a very long time, going into an Old Firm game with just zero expectations. I mean, honestly, the overriding feeling that I have at this moment in time is just please don't embarrass yourselves. Please don't embarrass yourselves. Don't let it be 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. Genuinely. Because I'll be honest with you, the way we're playing at the moment with this current manager, who is a disgrace, with the team the way it is, with the injury crisis at the back, with the goalkeeper that can't catch, so seemingly, I could see us losing 5-6-0. I genuinely could. They're banging form. We are bang out of form. We've got a defensive injury crisis. We just look one of the worst teams in Scotland right now. Like I said, it's the first time in a long time that I'm going into an Old Firm game with absolutely zero expectations. Look, we all know the season's over. The season's done and dusted. I mean, they're going to win the league. They're going to win the league at a canter. It's done. It's done. I think anybody who sits there and tells themselves the season isn't over, that we can still catch them, that we can still win this league this season is either high, drunk, or living in cloud cuckoo land. There's zero chance we win this league this season. Zero chance. I'd go as far as to say I think Dundee United have got more chance of winning the league this season than we have. Right, I mean, let's have a little look, shall we? We're going to do a bit of sort of background on this game going into the game. There's no point looking at the overall record between Rangers and Celtic. That's obviously, slightly skewed by the fact we can't win at Parkhead. We're going to focus on the league fixtures. We're going to focus on Ibrox. We're going to look at Celtic, their form, possible team lineups for tomorrow. What I feel that Philippe Clement does need to do, I mean, I don't for the minute think he will do it. I genuinely don't think it will happen. I genuinely believe that Clement will be thick as fuck and do his usual and name a team that will just go out there and just get absolutely battered. Because Clement is, I think, quite frankly, one of the worst managers we've had. I mean, I'd put him on the same level as Pedro and Paul Le Guen. I'd actually say he's worse than Paul Le Guen. I'd say he was probably, I think only Pedro would go down as being worse than him. In all honesty, I'd say only Pedro is worse than him. He's genuinely that bad. He genuinely is just an absolute loser of a manager. And Monaco fans tried to warn us of this, didn't they? They did. They tried to warn us of this. But let's have a little look, shall we? Look, I mean, in terms of history, the last few games in particular, I mean, our league record at Ibrox in recent times, this is the re-record in recent times, there's been 41 games in recent times. 19 wins for Rangers, 15 wins for Celtic. The recent draws, the 3-3, the moral victory, as Philippe Clement put it, which was probably one of the most embarrassing statements a Rangers manager's ever made. I mean, he does make these embarrassing statements. I honestly, with Clement, I genuinely think he doesn't get it. He doesn't understand the rivalry. He doesn't understand the club. He doesn't understand the standards expected. He doesn't understand what it is to be a Rangers manager. I genuinely think he doesn't get it, or he's just thick. I don't know. 19 wins out of 41, so under 50% win rate in recent times. Not great at all. We have outscored them in recent times, 60 goals to 51. But they have recorded 15 victories in those 41 games at Ibrox, which is not positive when your local rivals are coming and getting those types of results. Now, if we look at the last 10 league games at Ibrox, the record is absolutely awful. It's just not good enough. It really isn't. We've played 10. We've won 3, we've lost 5, we've drawn 2. So we've actually lost 50% of our games on the last 10 league games at Ibrox. 50%. That's under obviously Gio, that's under Philippe Clement, that's under Michael Beale. That's genuinely not acceptable. Really is unacceptable. I mean, in fact, at Ibrox, Beale's probably got the best record. I think a draw and a win. Has never lost to Celtic at Ibrox. And that's pretty ironic, isn't it, when Michael Beale is, got a better record than Philippe Clement. I mean, I'd actually say that Michael Beale's a better manager than Philippe Clement. I really would. 3-3, last time out, obviously, at Ibrox, that moral victory, as Clement put it, which I think, like I said, is one of the most embarrassing statements ever made by a Rangers manager. It's got to go down there in the pantheon of just ridiculous comments. he does himself no favors. He really does. But I know, I mean, I'm gonna say I've got to say I'm done with him. Absolutely done with him. The sooner he's gone, the better. I mean, he's just a joke. Then it was the 1-0. Obviously, when Kyogo scored, a 2-2 draw. Then there was actually no, Beale did lose again to Celtic. My apologies, he did lose to Celtic, didn't he? He lost that. That was the game he lost, and it pretty much everyone said after that game he should have been sacked. I apologise, I got that wrong. But he's still probably better than Clement. 2-2. That was the New Year game. We should have won. 2-1 defeat. There was the 1-0 in 21-22, the 1-0 in 2021, 2-0 in 1920. 18-19 a 1-0 win, 17-18 Celtic came and won 3-2, and they also won 2-0 as well in 17-18. I mean, I'd say out of all the recent managers, Steven Gerrard has the best record against them. But the last 10 doesn't look clever. I mean, like I said, you've got to go back, way back to the last meaningful victory being that game. I mean, probably that 1-0 back in 21-22. I mean, I know we had the 3-0 at the end of the season, but that was a dead rubber. The game was done and dusted. It was over. The league title was over. They had players out. We had players out. There was nothing to play for. So I think, that's when the last time we actually won a meaningful game against them at Ibrox was. So it's not a pretty picture, is it? It really is not a pretty picture going into this game. I mean, if you look at the league table, we all know the point situation. We're 14 points behind them. We could be as many as 17 points behind them come the end of the 2nd of January. But this is the sort of looking at the form as it stands. I mean, who want to be an Aberdeen fan right now? 4 defeats out of the last 5. I think that is no longer a blip. That is, the wheels have well and truly come off at Aberdeen, and they're falling apart. You look at Celtic, they've conceded only 4 goals this year, which is pretty amazing, and their goal difference is plus 48. It's 30 goals better than ours, which tells in itself a story in itself that they are much better going forward. They're very good. They're very aggressive. They're very attacking. They can score pretty much when they want, whereas we do seem to be struggle to be clinical in that final third. Something that's sort of dogged us for the last couple of seasons, hasn't it? This inability to finish off chances and to put teams to bed. Even to some extent versus Celtic, we've had games where we've had chances to score against them and had chances to put them to the sword and actually beat them, and we've thrown it away because we've missed chances. Either that may have been just through poor passing or poor final balls into the final third, or poor finishing by the strikers, or the fact we've got Cyril Dessers, who's one of the worst strikers in Scotland. I don't know. But, you look at their last 5, they've won 4, drawn 1. Our last 5, we've won 3, lost 1, drawn 1. And our last 2, obviously, we've lost and drawn, which is, I think we can all kind of say that Motherwell game, we were kind of lucky to come out with the draw. Sorry. I mean, I'll be honest with you, that goal that Butland punched into his own net shouldn't have been disallowed. And I think if you're a Motherwell fan, you feel a little bit aggrieved. I think you probably should have come away with a 3-2 win in that game. And obviously the defeat to St Mirren was just embarrassing. Now, Celtic, since the Old Firm Cup final, had that 0-0 draw against Celtic, against Dundee United, and we all got very excited after that. And I think we were all guilty of getting a little too overexcited, thinking that maybe the wheels had come off, maybe they had kind of had a bit of a blip, maybe it was all falling apart for them, and maybe we could get, the lead came down to 9 points, and we all got a little bit excited. 3 Old Firms to go, win the 3 Old Firms, and it's all to play for. But that all came crashing down in the last 2 games with the defeat at St Mirren and the draw at Motherwell and the absolutely appalling, abject, chronic, turgid performances in those games. Celtic, on the other hand, in their last 2 games have won 4-0. Both games 4-0, 4-0. And I think if I was a betting man, I'd actually be inclined to go down to the bookies and put a 5 on them winning 4-0 on Thursday. And the other thing about those 2 games is that they have rotated their squad quite, not as big as perhaps, we're not talking like mass kind of rotation here. But, you look at the starting lineup against Motherwell. They had Schmeichel in goal, Ralston, Carter Vickers, Liam Scales, Greg Taylor, Engels, McGregor, Bernardo, Yang, Ida and Maida. And then they went into the St Johnstone game just recently, and there was changes again, but they left out Callum McGregor. They rested Callum McGregor. They left out Greg Taylor. They left out Dyson Maida, and they went in with the team of Schmeichel, Johnston, Carter Vickers, Liam Scales, Alex Valle, the guy they've got on loan from Barcelona, Engels, Bernardo, Hatate, Kuhn, Kyogo and Yang. So, they've actually rotated, they've rested some key players coming into the Old Firm game. So McGregor's had a rest, Maida's had a rest, Taylor's had a rest. There's a number of players that have been rested. But I think one thing you look at with Brendan Rodgers in his rotation is that, he doesn't rotate the two centre-backs. He keeps them very much the same. There are a few constants in there, Hatate being a constant in there, obviously. But, it's perhaps some lessons to learn for Clermont there when it comes to rotation. But they've kind of kept the same team, but rotated the odd player here and there just to keep them fresh. And I think, obviously, Callum McGregor missing, being a sub in the last game, he did come on, and Dyson Maida came on, and McCowan came on, and Ida came on, and Ralston came on for them. Resting those players, gives them a rest going into the game, going into the Old Firm game, and it puts them in obviously a much better position than we are. I mean, defensively, they have a number of options and a number of decisions to make. Do they play Taylor at left back? Do they play Valet at left back? Do they start Johnston or Ralston? I think we can pretty much guarantee that Carter Vickers and Scales will start at centre half. But, if you contrast that with Rangers and our options at in the defence, when you've got Balogun being apparently 50-50, I do worry that if Leon Balogun is not fully fit, if we risk him and he breaks down, it could be absolutely critical. And you're automatically then using up one of your substitutions. So it is a worry, but do you then put it into the whole situation where we've actually got nothing to lose, we're actually really struggling, we need Balogun, even if he has to take painkilling injections to play, we play him. I mean, that would go against sports science, which seems to dictate to Clermont who plays, when they play, and how they play. I think, Clermont allows sports science too much influence over our team. I think we've all said that, we all know that. I don't think Clermont gets how to use sports science correctly. I think Rodgers does. I think, if you look at England, you look at Arteta and Schlott, they do. I think, there's a lot of rubbish spoken about sports science. There's a lot of rubbish spoken about the influence it should have and does have over football. So, there's a lot of drivel written on the internet about it as well, including from people, at some of the top Rangers podcasts write some absolute drivel, who should stick to the green and white side of Edinburgh. But overall, I think Balogun is a risk. I personally wouldn't risk him. I don't think it's worth it, because what happens if, he has a breakdown again and that's him for a long period, especially with Suter being out, Tav been out. Is it worth, ruling out one of your top defenders for a long period of time? And, say what you want about Leon Balogun, his age, etc., but he has been one of our best defenders this season. I'd say that Suter and Balogun are our best defenders. Not having them for an Old Firm is just absolutely awful, and it really is an issue, and something we do, that will obviously go in favour of Celtic. It really will. The back four is a major issue coming into this game. Who do we play? How do we line up? And that's a big problem for Rangers. I think the Celtic team pretty much picks itself for this game. I think with Celtic, you'll see, hope you like the graphic, they're in hell. Kasper Schmeichel in goal, obviously. You'll see Alistair Johnson, there he is at home. At right back, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Liam Scales, and I think Valet will start against us, because I think they'll go for us. I think they'll attack us. Their midfield three, I think, will be Engels, McGregor and Hatate. I think, again, that's a very attacking midfield. But again, I think, given the way that we're playing at the moment, given how we're playing at the moment, they will smell blood. And they'll smell a chance to really put the knife in, twist it, turn it, and drag it out again. So I think they go attacking in the midfield. I think in terms of the front three, even though Kyogo hasn't been in the best of form recently, neither's Ida. So I think they will start Kyogo. I think Kuhn will start on the right, and I think Maida will start on the left. Even though Tav won't play, I still think that, Brendan Rodgers will see that Dyson Maida's record against Rangers is very good. He's got a good goal scoring record against us. He's got a good chance creation record against us. He plays well against us. So I do think that Dyson Maida will play. Nicholas Kuhn obviously is one of their best players. I don't imagine he will be at Celtic much longer than this season. I think he'll probably leave at the end of the season to go to a bigger club in Europe. I think he may return to Germany, look at, one of the bigger clubs there like Dortmund, maybe, or Leipzig, all bigger clubs than Celtic, or maybe even look down south and go to, clubs like, there's clubs down south, I think we'll look at in West Ham's, the Villas, Bournemouth, Brightons, this world, all bigger than Celtic, will all look at him and I think and maybe consider him as an option. So I think that's all, relevant there. I think that is how they will start. Now, personally, I would like to see Clermont innovate. and try something different in this game. I mean, looking at it this way, he's got nothing to lose because everyone expects us to get battered. Everyone, I think pretty much everyone, 98% of Rangers fans, I think it's probably 2% of, the gloriously optimistic who probably think we've got a chance, go into this game and think we're going to get absolutely smashed. So, I think for me, I would love to see some sort of innovation, some sort of try something out, try something different, because what we're doing so far is not working. Whoever said it, whether it was Einstein or whoever said it, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And it seems that Clement is insane. And also, the fact that as a team, we've played better when Danilo and Hamza have both been in the team, leading the line to some extent. I don't think it's part of a 4-4-2. I think it was more a 4-3-3 with Hamza drifting left when Danilo was central and Danilo drifting left when Hamza was central. But we've looked better with that shape, yet Clement went away from that shape in the last couple of games and we were shocking. So I do think that he needs to kind of learn from his mistakes, look back at what's worked well, look back at what's gone well, and use that to go into this game. He's skating on very thin ice. I mean, do I think he'll be sacked if we lose to Celtic? No, I don't. As I said on the pod last night, I think he's here for the whole season, no matter how bad things get. I mean, I'll honestly tell you that if Rangers were to lose 4-0, 5-0 tomorrow to Celtic and then lose to Hibs on Sunday, he will still be on a job Monday. I think the board are that short-sighted. But look, I mean, personally speaking, if it was me, if he loses to Celtic tomorrow, he's got to be sacked. He has to be sacked because his old firm record is so bad. He hasn't won a game against them. He's never beaten them. And, as we all know, Rangers managers that can't beat Celtic are about as much use as a chocolate teapot. So, that's where we're up to with that. So personally, like I said, I'd like to see him innovate. Now, what do I mean by innovate? I mean, change the shape, change the formation, try something different. Go 3-4-1-2, so we can have two up top. We can still maintain a width and we can put Hadji into a role to create and be influential and float between the midfield and the back four and cause uncertainty, cause the defenders and the midfielders to think, do we track him? Do we stay with him? Who picks him up? Let Hadji go and create. Hadji is our most creative player. Bayrami has been poor since he's come to the club. I mean, he looks like a championship, well, isn't he like a championship player? He looks like a League One player. Bayrami, he looks really poor. He does look like he can't cope with the physical side of the game because, I think people will tell you that Serie A is not the most physical league in the world anymore. The days of Claudio Gentile, Franco Baresi, Paolo Maldini, Rina Gattuso are gone there. That's not the way they play anymore. So I think, the situation is very much that you don't have to be as physical to play in Italy these days. So, he really is struggling with the speed and the physicality of the Scottish game. So I'd say Hadji is the man. Now, look, controversial one for some, perhaps not for others. I would start Liam Kelly in goal because Jack Butland's been awful. I mean, he is genuinely so badly out of form that it's scary. Now, I know what the argument will be is how can you drop your goalkeeper when the back four are so smashed up and debilitated and just lacking in numbers. He's kind of the one constant there. He is, and I understand that argument. I get that argument. But for me, Butland has been so poor the last couple of games, and his mistakes, I mean, basically his mistakes should have cost us at the game against Motherwell. That goal should have stood. So, at the end of the day, his positioning is off. His reading of the game is off. His ball distribution is not good at the moment. His save making is not good at the moment. He is genuinely all over the place. And to be honest with you, I think his confidence is shot to hell. I think his head is all over the place. I don't think he is in a position to play. If we play him, and let's say, for example, he makes another massive ricket against Celtic, he is going to get absolutely slaughtered. And what is that going to do for his confidence? Well, it's low now. It's going to be even lower. Now, I know what the argument also is that, with Tavernier out, Butland's your vice captain, who do you get to captain the side? Well, personally, I would give Nicholas Raskin the armband because the guy's been the best player, over the last month, over the last 2 months, he has been the best player. He's the best player on the squad. He can lead through example. That's who I would give the armband to. Give it to someone who actually deserves it rather than, Tavernier who doesn't and Butland who certainly doesn't at the moment. So I would go with Kelly. Now, I would go with a back three because we realistically haven't got one decent centre-back left at the moment. Balogun and Suter are our best centre-halves. Sterling is a right-back playing centre-back. Proper is, I'm not really sure what Robin Proper is. I don't think he's a defender because, I mean, I'd honestly, if I was Rangers, I'd be suing FC20 under the Trade Descriptions Act because the guy's not a defender. I hope when we bought him, we got a gift receipt so we can return him. But yeah, he's just awful. I'd put him in the middle of the three so that King and Sterling can protect him to some extent. Leon King has to come in and he has to play centre-back. I've got a horrible feeling King will come in and play right back, and we'll talk about that shortly. But I would go with King, Sterling and Popper as a back three because we haven't got two central defenders good enough to play as a pair. So when that comes, you've got to kind of cover for it by putting three in there. I then have a midfield of Tierney and Yilmaz as wing backs. I know that perhaps restricts Tierney to some extent, but I think he's more than capable of doing the job. Yilmaz, for me, is a better player going forward than Hjefte. He's just a bit more consistent. So I would play Ridvan. And also, I think he's got something to prove against Celtic after missing that penalty in the final. Barron and Raskin, you might argue that's a bit too defensive, but I think we do need to be defensive. We do need to swarm over them. We do need to have players who are going to, smash, crash, dig into Hatate, dig into Engels, dig into McGregor, get stuck in, get all over them, get in their faces. Because if you don't, and you give Engels, you give McGregor, you give Hatate space, they will rip you to pieces. So that's why I'd be going with those two. Hadji in the 10 role, and I'd put Hamza and Danilo up front. Put two strikers up against Carter Vickers and Scales. Give them a problem. Give them a problem. They're going to expect us to play with one up top. They'd have been preparing for us to play with one up top. Give them something new as a problem. Get Hamza and Danilo linking, get Hadji involved in it, get them creating, making little runs, pulling people out of the way, pulling the centre halves apart for the midfielders to bomb through, to create space and to create issues for Celtic. And also, I think, Celtic would have been preparing for us to play 4-3-3, 4-3-1-2, 4-2-3-1. Sorry. Give them a different challenge. Give them a problem. So when they roll up tomorrow and they say, shit, it's 3-4-1-2, what we're going to do? Give them some sort of issue there. Give them some sort of problem there. Do I think that'll happen? No, I don't. I think this will be the team in a 4-2-3-1 formation. Buttoned in goal, I think Clement will show that he is tactically inept, that he is just one of the worst coaches in world football by playing Leon King as a right back, even though he's a centre back, and playing Sterling, who is a right back, and he's a better right back. He's probably the best right back at the club as a centre back, and he's not a very good centre back. I don't get this. Clement is too ready to play players in the wrong position and pretty much ruin those players. He's ruined Bayrami by playing him left wing. He's not a left winger. He ruined Fabio Silva last year by playing him left winger. He's not a left winger. Now he's playing in his rightful position. In a 10 role for Las Palmas, he's pretty much scoring 1 in 2. To some extent, I know he was just continuing on Beale did. He played Lammers out of position. Lammers is now playing well for Twente. So, at the end of the day, he is absolutely just unbelievably clueless for me. Proper Hjefte, I think, will start at left back, even though he's been poor the last couple of games. I mean, he didn't play, obviously, against Motherwell, but he was poor against St Mirren. Raskin, Barron and Dio will be the midfield as he tries to match up Hatate, Engels and McGregor, and I don't think that'll work because Dio has been pretty anonymous and a passenger in most of the last few Old Firm games. Tierney will play right, Danilo will play left, and Hamza will play through the middle. That's what I think he will go with. Do I think that'll work? No, I don't. I genuinely don't. I mean, my biggest prayer, of course, is please don't play Dowell on. Please don't put Dowell on the bench or Dessers on the bench, and please don't bring Dowell and Dessers on at any point during this game. I did tweet out this morning on X. It's 11 o'clock. Why haven't we sold Dessers yet? Bidding starts at a bag of Revels, and it's the coffee ones, and I don't even like the coffee ones. So look, at the end of the day, that is what I think it will be. I mean, I think it'll be somewhere close to that, if I'm being honest with you, with the team that he'll play tomorrow. Do I think that team's good enough to beat Celtic? No, I don't. I don't think that team's good enough to beat Celtic. Like I said at the start of the video, I honestly feel for the first time in a long time, I'm going into an Old Firm game with absolutely zero expectation. Absolutely zero, belief that we can get a result. And that is just tragic. It really is. And I don't want to feel like that. And like I said on the video last night, on the podcast last night, the live pod we did last night, I want to go into a season, into a game, actually feeling good about the team, feeling a great opportunity to actually do well. And you look back about what Clement said yesterday, and it's just the same old shit week in, week out, isn't it? It was disappointing 2 results, but the team showed resilience to keep fighting. We are focused on the next game. We will go for the 3 points. Our focus is to build something and keep improving the squad. I mean, he said that. How many times has he said that? It isn't happening. It's not the ideal situation, but the team is going to go full. The team has the quality to get this victory. I don't think we do, Philippe. I genuinely don't think we do. Not in the formation you play them and how you play them. I think if you reorganise them and play players in their rightful position, then we do have the quality to beat most teams in Scotland. We need to get stability back in the team, not conceding the poor goals and bringing efficiency with our attacks. The same stuff. It's the same stuff. I mean, if you go back on X and you read back over, or you go on YouTube and you actually take time to sit. I mean, I don't know if you're an insomniac, you sit down and you actually go back and you watch his pre-match pressers for the last 3-4 games. It's the same stuff regurgitated and said over and over again, and it just doesn't happen. It just does not happen. I mean, the other thing I'd like to see in tomorrow's game is, Clement actually use the youngsters, put the youngsters on the bench. Yes, it's an Old Firm game. Yes, the pressure is there. Yes, the stress is there of an Old Firm game. But I'll be perfectly honest with you. I would rather see Zach Lovelace on the bench than Cyril Dessers. I would rather see Bailey Rice on the bench than Kieran Dowell. I'd rather see Cyril Dessers sitting in the stand and Zach Lovelace come on after 70 minutes, because I think he will provide more life, more movement, more attacking threat, more speed, a better reading of the game, more understanding of the game, the ability to stay on side, the ability to stay off his arse for longer than 2 minutes, the ability not to moan. Same with Bailey Rice. I think Rice will provide more than Dowell. Kieran Dowell is just a non-footballer. He looks like a competition winner, that's won the right to be on the bench for the whole season at Ibrox. And I think as well, they'll show more heart, more fight, more battle, more passion, because I think they get it. They understand what it is to be a Rangers player. They understand what it is to play against Celtic. So for me, I'd rather see the youngsters. Will we see youngsters on the bench? Of course we won't see youngsters on the bench. I mean, Clement said, didn't he, at the start of his tenure, I will, give youth a chance. Fucking bollocks. Absolute bollocks from the Belgian. I mean, the amount of crap that man talks is just unbelievable. I mean, there's more crap comes out of Philippe Clement's mouth than goes through the storage works in Glasgow in an average week. There really is. So look, like I said, I'd like to see the youngsters. Right, prediction time. Look, heart, head. You've got a situation where your head is going to tell you one thing, and your heart, as a Rangers fan, is always going to tell you another, isn't it? Your heart is always going to tell you that we're going to win, no matter what. Okay, that's what it is to be a fan. That you have this unquenching belief that the impossible can happen. We all believe it, don't we? We all think at the start of the season we'll win the treble or the quadruple. We'll win the Europa League, etc., etc. So, heart prediction is that we win 1-0. Head says 3-1 Celtic, possibly. Maybe a draw. The best we can hope for if we really raise our game, play like we did in the cup final and they have an off day. Like I said, I've got no optimism. Genuinely no optimism going into the game tomorrow. And it's awful. I hate things like this. I really do. Guys, let me know your predictions. What I want to know is from you is this. I want to know, what do you think the score will be? So what is your prediction for the game tomorrow? So predictions, what's your score predictions for the game at Ibrox tomorrow? Okay, that's my first question for you, is what is your score prediction? The second question that I want to know is, what is your lineup? How do you line up against Celtic tomorrow at Ibrox? What do you want to see? What formation would you play? What players would you play? Let me know in the comments down below this video, please. Let me know. That's what I'd like to hear from you. So look, like I said, zero expectations. Whatever we get, it will be positive. I think a defeat with 17 points behind them, and Clement has got to go. He won't, but he has got to. A win and it comes down to 11 points. Does that mean we can still win the league? No, I don't think it does, because I can't see them dropping too many more points. Look, that's where we're up to. That's how it is to be a Rangers fan at the moment, isn't it? And it's damned depressing. Damned depressing. Look, guys, we'll be back with a reaction pod tomorrow night. We'll keep obviously bringing you all the latest content. Reminders again, if you haven't already done so, please sub, please like, please comment. You can become a member for 99p. If you like the content, we don't charge you. There's not a single charge here on this channel. We don't hide stuff behind paywalls. We don't do, a £2.50 a month if you want to watch content. We don't do that. We never will do that. So, if you do want to help the channel, there's a super thanks button. Donate a bit of money. That'd be great. But thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, guys, please, on the way out, like, sub, comment, share. All helps YouTube. And remember always, please never forget, we are one Rangers family, and we are the people.